Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell in the upper right-hand corner. Follow me on all forms of social media. Check me out at thatdrummerguy.com and enjoy the following presentation. And with that, I mean, it's an awesome new EP on the horizon with Age of Defiance. I've gotten the chance to be able to check this out over the last few days, and I really love the new songs that are going on here with Prong. I mean, when it comes to Prong, I mean, it's just, I always love the heaviness and intensity that always comes with Prong, but also just that great catchiness, that melodicness that's going on there, and it just, you always have this sense of how to make songs memorable, and you definitely hear that on this EP in strides.
Well, thank you. I wish we had more of that in us. I would like to have, you know, not just one big hit, but 30 big hits. But anyhow, I'm happy that Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck became so popular, and you know, I'm still getting good plays on that on Spotify. Anyway, you know, Age of Defiance came out good. I mean, it was good to focus on a couple of songs rather than having the major task of a full-length album. You know, and the quality control it was up. The dose was upped on this because Age of Defiance, that song was taken from a group of songs that I demoed earlier this year. That was all those songs were supposed to be for like another album maybe, and I think the rest of those songs are sort of in a trash heap, and that's the one that I picked for this. See, if I was to some other artist, I probably would recorded all those songs, made it an album, and then, you know, had one or two good songs on it. But I don't do things that way. I'm being facetious. In fact, so then End of Sanity was written for this. That's a newer song. Like, I had the riff was in a pile of riffs on my phone, but I took that riff and then made a new song for this, the EP, when we decided that we were going to do an EP on it. And then we get the live track. So, you know, I'm happy. I like this thing. I mean, you know, people's attention level is so low these days that, you know, it may be good. It was good every once in a while to put out an EP rather than a full-length record, because we put out so many full-length records in the last 5 years.
Yeah, and, you know, it's funny with that, because I am such an album guy. I love being able to listen to an album from start to finish and just memorize it, see how it was going with all that. But it's also nice to switch things up as well, too. So, you know, it's just like, you know, if there is an album coming on the horizon and there's some songs that just fit together, maybe not so much on an album, but fit together by themselves, putting them together on an EP like this is great. And I think it's a good flow between showing some live tracks and a couple new songs, because I really love the flow of this EP.
I mean, Steamhammer Records, they always have some good ideas. I mean, I must admit, it wasn't completely my idea. I mean, I was, again, thinking of that, I was going to prepare to make a full-length record. I didn't really want to, because it's the amount of work and time and energy, and I think a lot of songs got overlooked on the 0 Days and No Absolutes records. So this is more concentrated. I mean, that's a good word for it, actually, concentrated. And I'm happy that they wanted to put this out and wanted to go this route, because you know, normally, you know, labels want a full album, you know, and they felt it's strong enough that, you know, they could do something like this, and, you know, it was worth it for them. So I appreciate them a lot for doing this release.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for that too. And, you know, going back to what you were saying a little bit ago, you know, facetiousness or not, I mean, you know, it's just like when you want to be able to go out there and put out the best material you can, and just not putting out a ton of filler and just having a couple good tracks on there, why not just focus on the good tracks that you have right now, and then collect other riffs, or wait for that inspiration to come for the next album, especially when you have done so many albums over the last few years.
Yeah, and this was the best route to go. People have been saying that, like, even my booking agent in Europe, he's also a new record next year. I'm like, I don't know. I got to talk to the label, and then they were like, "Oh, just do an EP." I was like, "Oh, thank God." I mean, because even he was saying, like, you know, you should be really inspired, and I was inspired earlier in the year, and I wrote all those songs, but I don't think all of them were that good. You know, it's like there's a couple of, some of them. I mean, they're not even really. Some of them were not really good for Prong, and then I don't know. I mean, I sort of like they sort of warned took the only one that was exceptional was Age of Defiance, really. So the rest of them, I think, are going to go into the trash heap, you know?
Yeah.
So then you got to write a whole other batch. I got to do a whole other batch. So, like, and then, you know, sometimes you're, look, to be honest with you, sometimes you're forced into every record, not to say that we've had any fillers on any of the Prong records. I think no one can accuse Prong of having filler on any of the records. But there's some songs that you're almost forced a little bit more to make work than some of the other ones. So that's not the case here. So that's this is good. It's a good thing.
Oh yeah, and I can totally understand that as well, too. I mean, you know, sometimes it takes writing a bunch of riffs just to get them out of your system to see what works and what doesn't. And if you got riffs for one amazing song or two amazing songs in this EP, and then the rest of them you got to get rid of or save for something else or whatever the case is, you know, just do away with them and then wait for that creativity to come for the next batch of riffs that you come up with.
Yeah, man, I mean, it'd be good to release them as demos. I don't want to record them like this. Maybe have like a little, like a bootleg that just has all the crappy demos on it, which there's so many. Like I have hard drives and stuff, so it'd be like a triple album something. But yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff gets thrown out. You know, it's like that's just you write for the garbage can. That's really the idea. But I sort of changed that idea, like because Trent Reznor, he always says that I don't write for the garbage can. Everything that I write comes out on a record. He's talented enough to make that work, you know, but I mean, I can't do that.
Oh, and you know, it makes sense too, because you also want to be proud of the riffs that you come up with too. I mean, if it's something that just because you came up with it doesn't mean that you're necessarily gonna want to be able to have that out there in the world. You want to go out there and play that on stage at some point, you know, just to say that it's on a record. I mean, when you write a riff, I mean, some people can put everything out there like a Trent Reznor, you know, on every release, or other people just want to be able to really pick out the best of what is possible, and that's what I appreciate with Prong.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's like it has a lot to do with like how demos are made, etc. Well, I was just when you were saying that, I was thinking about the '60s and like the '70s, like with Sabbath. Like you know, they didn't have time or the ability to judge their own stuff. They went in and recorded an album, and that's what they did. You know, like they rehearsed the songs, and then they went back on tour again. You know, Deep Purple, all those old bands, and like you know, some bands there was a lot of filler on them. You know, Sabbath was great that way. I mean, they had like just an album like Volume 4 is just like it's just every riff is good on that record.
Oh yes.
Sabotage, maybe not. There's some filler on that record. But you know, then there's groups like Deep Purple where there's so much filler on it. They have then they would jam. You know, like you go in years ago in the '60s, not the '60s anymore. Like you know, you listen to like the Jeff Beck group and you know Zeppelin even, and they would have jams on the records. Like you'd have a record that had 7 songs on it. You know, like. It's amazing. So we can't get away with that stuff anymore.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's a different era.
Yeah, and, you know, that's just the evolution of music that happens. And, again, that's what I do.
Evolution.
Yeah, and that's what I do appreciate about your writing style is, like, making sure that you refine everything to make sure it's the best that it can be, that you're going to be proud of the songs that you're putting out there. You know, even if it does take a little bit of trying to make those songs work, I mean, it's the best of what you can do at the time, you know, considering everything in your world right as you're recording, and then being able to release something. So, you know, again, like with all the albums that have come out in the last 5 years, I mean, being able to just focus on a couple songs, release a couple live songs, you know, just rejuvenate the batteries enough to have a good reason to go back out and tour again, it's really a smart way to go about it.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I was thinking too, like, when we did like cleansing, the early Prong records were like that, where we were really concerned about that because in a sense that was sort of punk rock, where you didn't want to have all the excesses, you know, you didn't want to have these long guitar solos and stuff. That's one of the reasons why, you know, I didn't really I was opposed to a lot of thrash, you know, like straight thrash, where the song would open up, there'd be like one of the guys would be soloing, then they do a verse, and then there'd be sort of a short solo between there, and then they do like another verse, and then there'd be like 2 solos again, you know, or like power metal was like that too. So, but now I appreciate it more. But Prong was always trying to do things against all that, like where the excesses of the song. And I was like, no, you know, don't just get into that vocal a little bit faster than most bands, you know, things like that, in order to you know, make it more refined or more streamlined or simplistic, or maybe as is an easier word. You know what I mean? So more direct, and if it doesn't need a guitar solo, we don't do a guitar solo.
Yeah, and you know, I love that fact, you know, and that's what always drove me to Prong with every single release, and that's what I appreciate so much about the last few albums in particular. I mean, especially over the last 5 years, is, you know, just seeing so much of like the different kinds of diversity of the sound of what you can do when it comes to heaviness and groove and catchiness and everything that's going in there. You know, deciding what song, if it needs a solo, sure. If it doesn't need a solo, then you don't have to worry about it. But, you know, just being able to show like all the different sides of what Prong can be.
I mean, I appreciate your comments. It's working within that framework of being a trio too, and not having the ability to have these long interludes. But a lot of bands go crazy now to this, like, you know, the whole doom metal and stoner rock thing. I mean, it allows for that. It's just not what Prong does. You know, they're trying to do good songs, trying to, like, you know, I just think a lot of them got overlooked. You know, maybe like there's a song on Zero Days called "The Whispers" that I really liked a lot. Maybe that should have been on a single or put out later, or, you know, and then we could have filled that in with some kind of like jam or something on the last record. But you know what I mean? Like, you know, bands used to jam out like a lot more in the old days, and that's what. And even Metallica with Orion, you know, like, you know, they have all right, let's do a long 8-minute bass solo for the end of this record, you know.
Yeah, and, you know, that's, again, you know, it's just like, I appreciate when a band is trying to do something a little different when it comes to every album, and when you do have a song like The Whispers on there, you know, it's like, I do appreciate something different on there. You know, some people just want to be able to have a consistency between every single album all the time, and some people like risks, and, you know, like, depending on how it's done, I do appreciate the risk rather than always trying to play it safe and have it feared getting into filler territory, writing songs that sound just like something else just to fill out an album. So, I mean, when you have something like that, I do appreciate it for that reason, and still, with the latest albums that have been coming out from Prong, again, you know, just seeing the different sides of what Prong can be, but still having that Prong sound, it's so cool.
Oh, I appreciate it. And Chris Collier, who we've been co-producing the records with, and he always pushes for that. He doesn't like to do, you know, repeat himself too much too. Like, so I mean, he keeps an eye on me on that. So we have like this checks and balances, and you know, he's pretty strict with that. Like, you know, he's like, oh, you know what, like even like in the overdubs or vocal melodies and stuff, he's like, you know, that's like, I don't know, man. Like, you know, like, and when he rejects something, I usually go with that. I'm like, all right, we can't do it then. So that's what keeps it, you know, like a good producer will allow you to, keep you from, you know, allowing yourself from, you know, repeating yourself or making mistakes or just being boring, really.
Oh, totally. And with that in mind, too, I mean, obviously with production being so important, the songs, everything that you want to be able to put out there as well, still, covers, the album covers are so important when it comes to releases and stuff like that. And I really love what's being used for Age of Defiance. I mean, I love the colors that is going with it, the symbolism that's going on there. Like, how did the idea come from to use this as the cover?
Well, it's got Nicholas Fritz from the label, from Steamhammer. I mean, he really came to the party on this because I had just sent him a very dull painting that I did, and I was like, I was almost content with a recreation of this thing, and he was like, no way, I'm you know, he went the extra and put this whole thing together. So, I mean, a lot of that relies on him. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I mean, I can't believe he did this. So, I mean, a lot of it came from that. Like, I sent him the lyrics, and I had sent him a couple of images, and he just went with it, man. And he just, maybe I influenced him a little bit, but for the most part, he just ran with it and came up with this whole thing. And like you were saying, initially I was like, wow, this is great. Like, I can't find anything wrong with it. It's just amazing. Like, the colors, like, you know, it's just classy. It reflects the lyric, and it just the whole package came out really great. I'm really happy with what he did.
Oh, I couldn't.
I mean, the package is important because that's something people are gonna see forever. That's always gonna be around for us. I mean, that never goes away.
Yeah, that is so true. And whether you're focusing on a full album, whether you're doing an EP, whatever the case is, when you do have any kind of symbol or cover or representation of what's going on with a band, I mean, you want to be able to have like a great statement that goes behind it at that point in time. And I think this is just perfect for Age of Defiance. And it is. Yeah, I mean, it's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always like that too, man. Because sometimes, I'm like, yeah, you know what, like this is kind of like, but I have to live with it, and there's nothing wrong with that, Josh. Like, living with the cover, and you got to live with it when it's out. I had the same thing with mixes, like on a record, where this has happened a lot with me. This is why I sort of have to have more control over the whole records now because of bad experiences where I'm like, dude, this is just like. And I've had to like sort of learn to like a couple of records because of the mixes, and then later on go like, yeah, I don't like them. I oppose them. That's a painful thing too. I mean, where you're like, you listen to it. Well, that didn't happen on this either. We had, 2 songs to focus on. It's like, how can we screw that up? You know what I mean? Like, when it comes into like, mixing a whole album, and it's like, we had that on 0 Days where it's like, Collier, like with 80% of them were really good. And I was like, you know what, dude? Like, and he was starting to get pissed off at me a little bit, of course. I was like, dude, we gotta go back and do this one again, man. It's just like this. And he's like, what the hell's wrong with it? I'm like, listen, man, I'll tell you when we go in and do it. It's just, I'll know when it's done. And he was like, I guess you're right, man. I mean, it's really, there was a couple of them. In the big picture of things, it really didn't make that much of a difference. But, like this, we don't have that on this. We have 2 songs to do, and this is like, okay, slam dunk. This is great. We can focus. This sounds great. We made it. It did 3 different mixes. He sent me 2. First one I rejected. I told him to do this, do that, the other thing, because I was on the road. And then I made a couple more adjustments. By the third pass on it, he had nailed it. So if you have 14 songs like that, then you're in under time constrictions where the record's got to be delivered in a week. You're screwed. I mean, no one can possibly do that. So this was good. I mean, having a couple of songs to work on for release is a lot easier. Better for the people too. It's like, wow, this sounds great. It's like I listen to it on Spotify. It sounds killer. On my phone, like just with one speaker. It's all good.
Yeah, and again, that is so important, the sound of everything. I mean, I know a lot of people like to consume music that way, be it on a 1-inch speaker on your phone or a cheap pair of headsets or something like that, but I'm always going to be someone that does care so much about, like, the production sound, the mixing, and the mastering, and that's why I love the fact that you do take that burden of making sure that every song is the way that you envision it, rather than just leaving it to somebody else and just wanting to make sure that the songs are as good as they can possibly be. And that's why, again, like the latest albums that have been happening from Prong have been my favorites in the whole career of Prong so far, is just because of those kinds of details to it, because you can really hear it in the final product.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you said it. Yeah, man. I mean, I've been really on top of it. Like again, like Rude Awakening, all those other records, apart from the new ones. Like Rude Awakening, I totally walked out of the mixing session. It was like I did not like where it was going. No offense to Terry Day. Terry's amazing. It's just that record came out not the way I wanted it to come out. And I was like, I think it suffered because of that. I was like, I completely, I don't like. There's a lot of things on that record that I don't like, and it's because a lot of the mixes were not the way they were supposed to be done. And I've always had the same situation. Cleansing was not like that. Cleansing, I sat there the whole time, and we agreed on, for some reason, when it came to mixing Rude Awakening, I think it was the room, whatever, nothing was sounding good, and I was just like, this sucks. He's like, what are you talking about? We got an argument about it. And so I finally walked the hell out of there. And then other records, Scorpio Rising was just a disaster, and then Power of the Damager, we just had had Al's engineer. I mean, we're gonna remix and remaster that record and re-release it because Al's engineer was some kid that good guy, but inexperienced, and we just I didn't have the time or money to really spend on that. So by the time Carved into Stone came around with Ebbets, we really and then Ruining Lies, and then I think by No Absolutes is when the whole process got really good, where I knew what I wanted to hear. So it took 25 years for that to happen.
Yeah, and,
ridiculous.
I'm glad that you reached that point too, because some bands never get to that point where they're going to be at least knowing where they want their sound to go in. So I mean, it might have taken 25 years, but I'm glad that you did reach that point, and I'm excited to see where all future Prong releases go, because you do have that vision in mind of what you want it to sound like.
Well, it's stuff that you change. I mean, like I heard an earlier interview, and this guy was like, "Well, is Age of Defiance a good a preview of what Prong is going to be doing?" I'm like, I probably not. I think that it may develop into something else. So I don't know, but who knows what that is?
So
I don't have it completely dialed in. I mean, but per record, now I think I have the confidence to sit there and make the mixed decisions that I think are correct now, like, because I know the way I want to hear them. I was in the past, I'd be like, okay, well, maybe like Terry knows better, or whoever's doing it knows better, and they just don't.
Yeah, and again, and that's what I do appreciate with Prong when it comes to every single album. It's just like, I think Age of Defiance is great to see where you are right now in 2019, but by the time that the next release comes out, I mean, it could be even heavier, it could be catchier, it could be more streamlined. I mean, there's so many different directions that it can go in, and and that's what I love about a Prong album, is because until it comes out, I don't know what to expect, and that just keeps me chomping at the bit, waiting to see what comes next.
Right. I didn't even think of that, and that's kind of cool. Well, thank you for your input and your comments.
Oh, not a problem. As a longtime fan of the band, I'm happy to be able to help contribute, even in the smallest way like that. I mean, I'm glad that you even listen to that. That's just awesome to me. So
yeah, as much as I say, like, oh, I don't really care. I mean, like, I'm just starting to think about like what the next record. I mean, I'm very early stages of that. Like, what's gonna happen? I don't know. It's like it's gonna be long. It's gonna be a process, though. It's gonna be a good long process.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna rush into it,
and nor should you either. I mean, I think this is a great thing to be able to put out there. That way, you do take the time to be able to work on the riffs, decide what direction you want everything to go in, and have everything fall gradually as it should. But until then, I mean, these are two amazing songs from Prong to be able to check out. It's always great to be able to hear some live recordings, and it was a great way to be able to fill out that EP. And of course, being able to play live shows too. I mean, being able to add a couple more songs into the sets and being able to freshen things up.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to have to practice them, and we're going to do them on the next tour. So the only problem with that is I'm going to have to carry a 7-string guitar with me, which I don't have a problem with, but it's just, that's, since I have to be a cheap bastard these days, it's going to cost me more plane fare cost. Everything's so expensive now. Like, we used to I used to throw amps and guitars and all this stuff on the plane, and believe it or not, years ago, there was no extra baggage cost. I mean, they would fill it up until the plane was filled up, and then they rejected if you checked in too late. But we used to check everything to go overseas. Now you can't check anything. Like, it's like you gotta check, it's everything is $200, like to check a guitar, it's ridiculous. So I'm getting burned.
Oh, yeah, that is the sad state of where we are right now. And as bad as that is, I mean, there's so many bad things going on in the state of the world right now, but I do love the fact that with these songs that you do want to be able to play them live, and it does require a 7th string to be able to do that, but the fact that you have that much faith in the songs that you do want to be able to play them live for the people that have checked out or bought the EP, and or just showing people who haven't kept up with Prong to see what you're up to right now in 2019 into 2020. I think that's just great that you have that much faith to be able to do something like like that?
Well, we've had a big success on the new songs. I mean, if you look at Spotify, what's being played by people, not to keep referring to them all the time, to Spotify, but, I mean, of course, the most popular song is Snap Your Finger, Snap Your Neck, and then, Whose Fist Is This Anyway is behind that. But then the rest of them are newer songs. I mean, Revenge Best Served Cold, and Ultimate Authority have been really, popular for listeners over the last couple of years. So, we've had recent hits, which, is unusual for a band like Prong that's been around for, 25 years. I mean, you'd figured it would just be all, the old songs that were up top there, but that's not the case.
Oh, totally. And I'm glad to see that there are others like me that, I do appreciate Snap Your Finger, Snap Your Neck, and Whose Fist Is This Anyways, and all of those songs, but kind of like you mentioned when it comes into, the production and the state of things like that, it's just it does sound more raw, or sometimes it doesn't feel the way that it should, but when it comes into the newer material, it feels like everything was recorded the way that it was meant to be. Every single riff, every single mixing and mastering, everything. I
know. That's what I really appreciate about it. That was just great. I mean, I have to really hand that a lot to Chris Collier, because he's a stickler for that stuff, and like I said, for guitar tracking, he's just the master, man. He's just he hears things that most people don't, and he knows the solutions to these things. And tracking guitars for this type of music is like a really important process. It's especially when you're doubling stuff, and then you got to come up with solos, and there's harmonies, etc. that are going on, and the vocals are really important too. But every aspect of making a record, this guy is just he's completely professional and on top of it. And, I need somebody like that. I would tend to be like, I'll let it slide, but he's for the small things, they build up, and it makes a quality record. And I always get that when you're working with Collier, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's absolutely what I'm hearing from the fan perspective, and that why I get so excited with every new Prong release. And that's why, again, just bringing things back to the beginning, it's such an honor to be able to talk to you about everything going on in the world of Prong right now. And of course, Age of Defiance, which is coming out November 25th through Steamhammer, and just everything that we've been able to talk about, be it the early days, be it what's going on now, things to look forward to in the future. All of this has been fantastic to be able to get your insight into, and I, again, thank you so much for taking the time to be able to talk to me about all of it.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it, man. And you be good, take it easy, and keep in touch, all right?